This video is probably gonna piss off thousands because that's how many you're gonna watch. Which are better, the prequels or the new Disney films? I don't know, but come on, we gotta be able to talk it out as fans, have conversations. So when Star Wars was released in 1977 and then the rest of the trilogy thereafter, it blew us away. For our generation, they became part of who we are, part of our fabric, part of our DNA, and that's a beautiful thing. Then when the prequels came along, something crippled the fandom. A rift. That was not a beautiful thing. Most people hated them. I hated them, with the exception of Revenge of the Sith. That's the diamond in the rough. 10 years down the line, The Force Awakens. It was a rehash of the original, but most fans enjoyed it. Jeremy Johns enjoyed it, Angry Joe enjoyed it, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers enjoyed it, and that's a good thing. The following year after that, Rogue One. Not as well received, but still a success. Another rift? Nah. Then, The Last Jedi. Again, a damn rift. So here's the thing. I hated the first two prequels, loved the third. Thoroughly enjoyed Force Awakens and Rogue One, hated The Last Jedi. And Solo, meh. So in this video, putting our dislike for the prequels or Disney films, you know, the sequels and the standalones, for clarity, I'm presenting 5 components the originals killed it in, then I'm gonna decide what era did it better, the prequels or the new Disney films. But of course, before we get into it, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you always know when I upload new content. With no further ado, let's start off with the lightsaber duels. Watching characters use lightsabers in the new Disney films and the prequels, I feel like the new Disney films kind of feel more like the original ones, but they have major drawbacks. We keep getting people that have never held a lightsaber being a challenge for people like Kylo Ren, who's been trained in it. Then in The Last Jedi, we're all about to bust when we think that Kylo Ren and Luke are gonna go at it, but are blue balled when we find out homie's a hologram. Then with the exception of Vader's scene in Rogue One, they completely cop out as to the damage that the lightsabers do to people. Look at that. That should have cut dude clean in half. Then in what should have severed the top of his head, Kylo Ren lifts up his head to reveal that lightsabers, which have been seen cutting through rock, through metal, through redwood trees like a hot knife and butter, suddenly only cause scratches. On the other hand, the prequel lightsaber duels are freaking awesome. We get to see the amazing Jedi skill set, the choreography, the agility. The problem that I have with these though is that in the back of my mind I have that, oh, it's a show. They're way over choreographed, but they're fun as hell. And we get to see tons of them, not to mention between trained lightsaber users. This one's easy. Edge prequels. The environments, you know, the surroundings, the settings, the props. When A New Hope came out, which I know it wasn't called A New Hope back then, but part of what drew fans in was that despite the futuristic setting, it looked like it had been lived in. They were not these immaculate, gleamingly clean futuristic sets that all the other prior space movies had. It was easy to believe that this universe, this civilization, this culture that gave rise to the Empire, to the Rebellion, to the Jedi, had been around for millennia. So by the time we get the prequels, we already know, thanks to the originals, that this is a universe with a galactic civilization, a galactic economy, a galactic culture, but the environments, the sets, the props, didn't really seem to match, not for me. Everything's so clean, so shiny, it just doesn't look like the same universe. Then there's the fact that it's like almost all CGI, and it shows. The new Disney films appear to use as much practical effects as possible. Of course they use CGI too, but they do a masterful job of mixing the CGI with practical sets, props, and backgrounds. And what we get are crisp looking environment, and they're a better match to the originals. Where the prequels gave us these smooth, aerodynamic, shiny, rounded spaceships, the new films give us dreadnoughts, star destroyers, in ruins yes, but I'll take it, X-Wings, and none other than the Millennium Falcon. Edge, the Disney films. Let's look at the comedy. This one is kind of an easy one for me. The prequel comedy is mostly dumb jokes that feel like they're taken out of kids' cartoons.
Let's get out of here before more droids show up.
More? More did you speak? Don't move.
In the originals and the new Disney movies, we get comedy that's more clever, subtle, and experience driven.
I'll tighten those restraints. Scavenger scum.
You will remove these restraints and leave the cell with the door open.
I will remove these restraints and leave the cell cell with the door open.
And you'll drop your weapon?
And I'll drop my weapon.
Congratulations. You are being rescued.
Of course, the exception is The Last Jedi. Wait, oh, Leia flying through space was not meant to be funny? Sorry, that shit was dumb ass. But the reason that The Last Jedi was the worst of the newer Disney films was not because of the dumb childish comedy like the prequels had, but because it's a terrible misuse of bathos. Bathos, for those of you who don't know what it means, it's when there's jokes placed in moments that are supposed to be serious to add some levity to them. But as most of us know, Rian Johnson did a terrible job at that. He didn't know if he wanted to make The Last Jedi a deep, dark, serious movie or a jokey one. And that's why, in my opinion, The Last Jedi is a catastrophic fail. But still, I'm arguing that the new Disney film's comedy is better and better matches that of the originals. Unless you think that the prequel-esque comedy that George Lucas inserted into the new rehashes of the originals is better. Fine, I'll give it to the prequels. Psych, Edge, Disney films. Alright, the stories. So because I cannot sit through The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, to be fair, in order to make this video, while I do still remember the stories for them, I watched a YouTube video that recapped the prequel trilogy in 10 minutes, just to make sure I remember the stories correctly. And yup, Revenge of the Sith is pretty badass, but the other two, hell nah. Yeah, the storylines for those two are convoluted ass. I ain't seen through that again. But what about the storylines for the Disney sequels though? So right now, let's leave out the standalones to make it fair, since we're comparing essentially the connective tissue between the films in their respective trilogies. And because The Force Awakens was essentially a rehash of the original, it was simple, easy to follow. But connective tissue, remember? The story for The Force Awakens seemed like it was going somewhere.
Quiet, girl.
And we were interested, we were invested. But then, The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson looks at J.J. Abrams and goes, yeah, no. Sending it all down the toilet. The Last Jedi not only possibly ruined the Force Awakens story, but now we don't even know where the hell it's going. It doesn't move the overall story arcs anywhere. The connective tissue, gone. Worse, Johnson pulled the rug out from underneath us. Snoke is gone, Luke is dead, turns out we don't know anything about Rey. So looking back, what the hell did The Force Awakens do? We can wait for episode 9 for context, but for now there's just no connective tissue. It can in theory change if episode 9 kills it, but The Last Jedi doesn't seem to have left any room for that. So for now, Edge prequels. Alright, and the final component, the dialogue or banter between characters. Some of the absolute best banter between characters in cinema that I could think of belongs to the Star Wars original trilogy.
Some rescue. You came in here. Did you have a plan for getting out?
Eat the brain, sweetheart! What the hell are you doing?
Somebody has to save our skins. Into the garbage, flyboy.
I'm gonna kill her or I'm beginning to like her.
Fredo's gonna leave without giving you a goodbye kiss?
I just assumed he's a Wookiee.
I can arrange that. You can use a good kiss!
Are you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder?
Who's scruffy looking?
Shit was awesome. And while the banter in the Disney sequels and standalones is not as good as the original trilogies is, it kind of feels like the originals more so than the prequels.
What are you doing back there? Are you ever gonna fight back?
I'm working on it! Are the shields up?
Not so easy without a co-pilot.
Try sitting in this thing.
The galaxy is counting on us. We'll use the Force. That's not how the Force works. Oh, really? You're cold?
The banter's pretty entertaining, and the fact that the prequels banter is so damn bland further propels the Disney Star Wars banter further up ahead. I mean, how boring is this?
We used to lie out on the sand and let the sun dry us, and try to guess the names of the birds singing.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
What in all that dialogue propelled them to fall in love? What do they like about each other? I don't even think they know. The whole Poe versus Holdo thing? Yeah, it was dumb as hell. I hated this whole arc, but that initial back and forth between them, the way Poe challenged Holdo and the way Holdo berated Poe as they stared each other down. I know, Holdo is like 20 years Poe senior. And call me crazy, but you cannot deny that there was more sexual tension in that little scene than in all the banter between Anakin and Amidala. You just can't. Edge, Disney, Star Wars. So the sequels and standalones look and feel more like the originals in their environments, their dialogue and banter, and the comedy, but are beaten out by the prequels in the lightsaber duels and story cohesiveness. This doesn't really tell us which trilogy is better than the other. That's up to each of us. As for me though, even though I think that the Disney films have the worst movie out of all the Star Wars movies, The Last Jedi, and the prequels the best movie outside of the originals, The Revenge of the Sith, I gotta say that overall, I like the Disney movies better than the prequels. That's just me. But hey, what the hell do I know? We're just a bunch of geeks. Do you guys agree or disagree with anything in this video? Make sure you leave a comment. Then, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload new content. Also, you can check out more of my videos right now. Peace out.